What's up, guys? It's Chris with Wiseman Custom Resin Works. Today we're going to do a couple of different pours. We got some new stuff that just came in. We got some new LED fairy lights. It's our first time using these, our first time doing any small pours. We got a couple of new colors. Got the 16 different colors. We're just kind of giving them a try. We're still kind of experimenting to see what brands work out best. Looks like the resin pigment. These are good for regular resin, and also the UV resin as well. It was pretty cheap. It was only like I think it was like 12 or 13 bucks for 16 colors, and they had one for like 20 bucks for a little bit more. And then the resin, we're going to be using the Sigwong. Just regular old resin from Amazon. I think that was actually fairly cheap too. I think it was $16.99 or $17.99 for the 9.1 ounce. It comes with 3 cups, 3 cups of mixers, and some gloves, and of course instructions. But other than that, we're going to be doing a couple of different things. We're going to do home, family, and love, and a couple of coasters. Like I said, we're just going to be trying out these new lights, and just kind of wanted to make a how-to video as far as how to do the resin and how we do our resin. So let's get started. So to be able to measure out the resin, we're going to use just a regular digital scale. You can get them from Harbor Freight, any of your tobacco stores, or online, Amazon, eBay, a couple other websites I'm sure. We just went over to the tobacco store, they got them out of there. Now with the lights, we just kind of strung them through the home. We went with blue LED lights. Looks like that. It's probably going to be blurry on the video. Probably come out better once it's finished on the video though. And we're going to be going with purple for the color. Just going to be that one there. We're going to put the cup up there before we cut the scales on, so it'll zero itself out. And then we're going to start with the regular resin itself. Cut them on. You want to run it up to, it all depends on your pour, but see here's what's going to be your numbers here, and whatever you pour in here for the resin, you want to match that for the hardener. We're going to go ahead to right about 50 of each. Well, we're going to do 45 each. Cups are a little small, so I don't want to overdo it with the cups. Looks like we went to right about 45.2. So we're going to leave that at 45.2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do tar, which is going to bring it back to 0. So we can pour in our hardener, so we can be able to see exactly where we're going, start back at 0, rather than trying to add 45.2 plus 45.2. So we'll just hit tar. And we're going to remember 45.2 and do it all over again with the hardener. Got to be careful when you're pouring it in. The numbers jump up pretty quickly. You want to make sure, because this one here is a 1-to-1 ratio, so we want to make sure we get specifically 45.2. Looks like we got about 45.3, but that 0.3 or that extra point should be alright. It's just of the hardener, so if anything it'll be a little bit harder. And you want to get it a good mix. Now a big thing with this type of resin, from what I can see from what we've been using it and from what I've read offline, is a big thing with this resin is you really gonna want to get a really good mix on it. And it's the self-foaming resin, so the foaming is supposed to pop the bubbles by itself. That way it doesn't leave any type of bubbles throughout the resin at all once it's finally cured. Well, I mean, we always still go back and at least hit it with the little torch at least, just to give a little extra help just in case. So what we usually do, mix it around a little bit, and then once we get it most of the way mixed up, we'll go ahead and add in our pigment. Now you want to mix it up for probably about 3 to 4 minutes, give or take. Just to make sure you get a really good mix on it. If you don't, then take a chance at it not hardening right or not being fully mixed up properly. And it also helps popping the bubbles as well that kind of form through it. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but kind of form through it. The more you mix, the more bubbles that'll pop out of it. Now this resin, it actually is pretty decent, fairly good work time. It gives you about 45 minutes on a work time, so from the time you start mixing it together and actually pouring, you got about 45 minutes before it starts to set in and starts to harden up at all. So you got a pretty decent amount of time. So taking 3 to 4 minutes or hell even 5 minutes to mix it up real good isn't gonna hurt you too bad. As long as you're going straight from mixing to pouring, you'll be alright. There is also, from what I can see, I've seen some people that'll take it and mix it and then let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, just to kind of let some of that air out of the resin. That's kind of a decent way if you don't have one of the chambers to be able to put it inside of, to be able to get all the bubbles out that way. But doing smaller pours, you really don't need to do all that. It just is a matter of mixing it up real good. You also want to try to mix it a good bit before you put in the pigment, because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to see but so many bubbles throughout the pigment. Once it gets colored, it'll be hard to see, but whereas now, I don't know, you might be able to see that. You can kind of see, yeah, there you go. You can kind of see it there. That way it's a little easier to see if you get it mixed up pretty good before you put the pigment in. I'm just going to mix it up real good. Now while you're mixing it, some people like to hit it with heat, just to kind of help it pop the bubbles. That does work. We do it here and there. It just depends how many bubbles are in it. If it's got a lot that we can see, then of course we don't want them to be in the pores, so we'll hit it with a little heat, and that usually takes care of it. You don't want to hold it too long, just something real quick, just enough to get it heated a tad bit. Just same thing as when you make the pour. When you put the pour in, or do the pour, and then you put a little heat on it just to pop what's there. It's kind of the same thing before you actually do the pour. Just want to put a little bit of heat to it, just to kind of pop what's there as well. This one looks like we've got a lot of air in here. So more than likely I'll end up hitting it with the heat here in a second. We got just a little small torch. Do it just a little bit, just enough to heat up that resin. We don't want to do it too much. We definitely don't want to melt our cup or get the resin too hot. Alright, so we should be able to go ahead and pour in our looks like I got a little bit of it outside the cup here. We'll wipe that off. Looks like I gotta cut it. Forgot it's brand new, so let me cut it really quick. Alright. We're just gonna put a couple of drops in here just to see. Start off with 2. We'll start off with 2 and see what that does for us, and then we might end up adding a little more. Obviously, when you got the liquid, even with the powder, the more you add, the darker it's gonna be. Same, the same thing. Just 2 drops of that actually came out pretty decent. So we're just gonna mix it around a little bit more just to make sure that's mixed in there pretty good. Go ahead and wipe off what I got here on the side. just because I can't get that to mix in up here, and I don't want that to end up getting into it when we go to do the pour itself. Just get a good mix for about 2 or 3 minutes. Now sometimes when you got a lot of bubbles in it, sometimes it's good either to keep mixing or to, once you got it really mixed up real good, just to go ahead and let it set for about 10 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes. That'll usually allow all the air bubbles to escape before you do your pour. That way you can kind of manage them before rather than having to manage them after. That way your pour comes out clear for you. Looks like we got majority of them out. There's just a few more in there. We'll get a little more mixing and then we'll get to pouring it. We can kind of see the bubbles kind of escaping up to the top there, which is always great. That means they're getting out of there for us. Usually if you kind of mix it off to the side just a tad bit, it'll usually help them get up to the top to get up out of there. Alright, so once you've got your resin ready to be poured in, all mixed up, and you just want to get pouring it. When you got your lights in there though, you want to make sure that your lights are where you want it to be. I'm going to hit this with the torch one more time. There we go. Now we got pretty much all the bubbles out of there. So I already went ahead and laid out the this stuff there, as you can see, for the string lights, all the fairy lights, I'm sorry. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and start pouring our resin. Starting to do this with my left hand, and I'm right-handed, so that ain't going to work out very good. Make sure that you get the pour even all the way through. That way you got an even product when it comes out. As you pour it through, you want to make sure that it covers the fairy lights that you got inside there as well. Make sure it pushes those down where you want them to be pushed down at. Looks like I'm gonna have just enough to do this. You want to make sure you get it even all the way through without going too much. You don't want to come up on top of the mold at all. But you do want to make sure that you got everything filled in to the tip. One of the things I usually do, everybody's different. What I usually do when I got any left over, I'll go ahead and I got something here. That's what I usually do. I just pour the extra for all the excess into there just to make sure that, that way none of it goes to waste. And then at the end of it, you got something unique that you can definitely sell or do with a keep or do whatever you want to do with. First, before you do that, though, you're going to want to make sure that you got everything where you want it. I didn't cause that to come up out of there. Just get that to lay back down. Word to the wise guys, never touch it once you already get it done. It sometimes doesn't go that great for you, like it's not going that great for me right now. Shouldn't have touched it, but I didn't like the way it was coming out of it. I didn't like the way it was going to harden up at. So I moved it, and of course, it's not going to cooperate with me. Let me find something I can set this on to get it where I need to get it to. Maybe if I can set that up there, I can put that back in there like that. These fairy lights definitely don't like to cooperate once they... It's kind of like a piece of thin metal. You know, once they get in their position, they usually like to stay in that position. Unless it's messed with, which in my case, I messed with it, of course. So I'll probably just ruin this one, but let it kind of fall back as it may. Yep, I just probably ruined that one, but it's not that big of a deal. We'll just make another one. Alright guys, so once you get the pour done, where your mold's completely filled, you definitely, remember you don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to underdo it either. You want to try to get right there at the lip, maybe just a tad bit under. It ain't going to hurt anything. It's just determining how thick it's going to be. Other than that, if you're using these fairy lights, just be careful. As you can see, had a little bit of trouble with it. Like I said in the beginning of this video, we usually do a lot of the bigger pours, the custom work, as far as like resin rivers, you know, stuff like that, coffee tables, end tables, cutting boards, those sort of things. We're just kind of trying to get into some smaller pours, just some, you know, just stuff to kind of keep us busy in between the custom orders, which is why we're using the Sigwong epoxy resin for our bigger pours. Of course, we use a bit better brand, but we're also kind of experimenting a little bit here. Like I said, we've used the Sigwong for a couple of different pours for our smaller ones, and they actually came out pretty great. Other than that, we've got a couple of other ones like the Easy Cast. Like we just went over to Hobby Lobby. We picked up the Easy Cast, the clear cast and epoxy for the casting crafts. We're going to be giving this one a try here probably tomorrow. We're actually going to do a video between the two for Sigwong and Easy Cast. This one here is as you can see there, it's right about $12.99 for 8 ounces. It's a real simple 1-to-1 ratio as well as the Sigwong. I like those. They're a little bit easier to use. You know, so it's just literally whatever you put in for resin, you put in for hardener, and it's short, simple. Mix it up real good. Put your you know, put your color in there, your pigment, and go about your business. Get your stuff done. It actually goes, the Sigwong actually goes pretty far. Just to see how it was, we actually did a quick pour with just some old scrap wood that we had laying around. It's nothing that we're gonna sell or nothing that's gonna come out too great. We actually didn't even finish it. Finished it. We just really wanted to see what the resin would look like and what it would harden like. To be able to do a smaller pour with. So, you know, the Sigwong actually came out pretty good and actually surprised us. It actually came out like this here. You know, like I said, it's just a short, simple, quick pour just to see what it kind of would come out with some scrap wood. Obviously, it's not going to be for sale or perfect, but you know, that's a great one if you guys are just starting out. We'll do another video on a great starter package. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and like, comment, subscribe, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. Come back for more, and we're definitely going to be notating all of our small pours, and we will be getting into our bigger pours as well. We're just kind of getting into the YouTube channel and getting our videos made and getting them done. So like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys later.